many human lives consist of all work and nothing to show for it. We toil day after day and never seem to get ahead. But there is a way out of this overwhelm and the stress and the just being sick and tired of life in general. At its core, that's what this movement is all about. And it stems from how I found a way out myself. And what I discovered is the way out is the way in. When you go through one door, countless doors open. Welcome to the FIFE movement. I'm your host, Amanda Neely. This is the only movement that helps our generation create our unique, feminine, and entrepreneurial approach to financial independence. Thanks for finding us. And since this is our first episode, I want you to know the story of how this movement came about so that you can decide if this movement is right for you. So back in 2007, my husband and I had the idea to start a coffee shop, and we wrote the business plan in 2008, started working on it really in 2009. And we had this dream to create a unique place that functioned more like a nonprofit community center, but supported itself through the sale of coffee and pastries instead of donations. We worked our tails off, and in 2011, we opened the doors to the public with a grand opening and everything. It was a lot of fun and a lot of hard work to get to that point. But the whole idea behind starting this venture is really our mission in life, to make the world a better place, both for the people within our community and around the world. We wanted to prove that you could have a local impact and a global impact at the exact same time. So it was really that bigger picture that made us want to start this business. And as with most businesses, it was a really hard start. We worked long hours, and our personal profit and take-home pay were only the tips from the tip jar for about 2 years. Absolutely, we were making a difference for others, but we didn't even think about how we might be on the edge of poverty ourselves, literally on the edge. Plus, all those long hours and little pay did not help when we went through the hardest 6 months of our lives. We had a cat die. My mom had a severe stroke. Brandon's grandma died. I had a miscarriage, and Brandon had to go to the ER for appendicitis and get his appendix removed. Those months and the aftermath almost broke our marriage. But thankfully, we had some good friends, a community who helped us stay together, but just barely. I think sadly, but really, the thought of dividing the debt and the business that wasn't really working was unthinkable. So that could have been what kept our marriage intact for the time being, but we knew it wouldn't for long. We started finding ways to have space for ourselves outside of the business. At first, it was a weekly date night, and then it was a morning of solitude. Those small actions started helping us realize we needed to take care of ourselves, but it was a long road ahead to get to a stable place. Remember, we were still living on tips, so I actually took a W-2 job to make ends meet. And looking back at my journal from that time, I was stressed and sick, literally vomiting from the pressure. But we just kept putting one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, just believing that the tides would change and that things had to start going our way. In 2013, we started doing some documentary screenings to build community, talk about world change, and hopefully make some money from, people buying coffee and giving donations to see the film. And on July 23rd, 2013, the documentary we watched changed our lives forever. Our friend Mark, who had an office down the hall from our coffee shop, picked the documentary and hosted the discussion afterward. When the credits rolled, I was so mad at Mark that he had never told us what this documentary shared. I was like, how long have we known you and you've never told us these things? So we forced Mark to sit down with us and figure out what we needed to do based on this knowledge that we had just gained. And it was really about putting a financial strategy together that went beyond, let's just put one foot in front of the other and hope the tides would turn, that we could actually have a strategy. And that financial strategy we used involved setting aside money on a monthly basis for our long-term needs, but keeping it accessible for emergencies. And I was thankful that it was accessible because when we started, we had just, 6 months of those monthly amounts in our savings account. And it really forced us to think through how to increase our income by the time those 6 months were over, because we wouldn't be able to stick to the strategy. And that was the first part of what turned out to be exactly what we needed to get clarity and priority with all the other parts of our finances: spending, saving, and income producing. And especially when we hit our first emergency and opportunity all at once. You're not going to believe the story, but it's totally true. It was the year Brandon turned 40, and I had told him 5 years earlier that I would take him anywhere in the world he wanted to go for his 40th birthday. It would be his reward for all the hard work he'd been putting in. We decided we were going to go to Ireland at Christmas, when we usually close the business for the week between Christmas and New Year's. And we used some of that savings that we'd been diligently adding to every month to purchase those tickets. And we purchased them well in advance in July. So we got a really good deal. We actually flew out on Christmas Day. Great day to get airline tickets for, because they're super inexpensive. Just a little tip there. So it was beginning of July. Then at the end of July, we got several calls from our staff while we were at the gym after putting in our full day's work. I finally answered while on the treadmill and heard the barista say the place was flooding. I did not believe him at first, but he texted me a video and I started heading to the locker room. I got the video as I started to walk home, started running home in the rain, and sure enough, the place is getting soaked. By the time we got there, most of the place had water that covered my ankles. We did what we could to move and protect our stuff. And as you might imagine, we had to close and we had a significant loss of revenue. Yet we still had bills to pay, right? We had to pay our rent. We had to pay electric, all those things. Thankfully, we still had some cash in that savings. We did not have to go groveling to the bank for a loan or go into credit card debt in order to make it through. But that's not the end of the story, right? Turns out I was a couple weeks pregnant during that time too. We found out about, 4 or 5 weeks later in early September. And so that trip to Ireland became our baby moon. We came back and we actually had arranged to sell the business. So on January 2nd, we sold it. Since then, we've continued to work on our mission of making a global and a local impact while maintaining a healthy lifestyle for ourselves. Today, we look for new ways to take a step in a better direction with our time, energy, and our money. There's no more just put one foot in front of the other. Instead, it's what step would be best to take now. So as you can tell, my story isn't the typical FIRE story. If you're familiar with the FIRE movement, I quote unquote retired from a cubicle before my 24th birthday and before I had 2 nickels to rub together, really. Yet I found my path to choosing my own adventure and being financially secure. That's what financial independence means to me, being able to choose my own adventure and doing it my way, entrepreneurially and with a feminine spirit, where I'm, thinking of others in addition, right, to thinking of myself and so forth. There's so much of that I'm looking forward to unpacking with you, which leads me to a reminder or something I want to make sure to say. Please listen to the first 4 episodes of this show, the FIFE movement. This is episode 1. Please listen to 2, 3, and 4, where we're going to define the terms. What is financial independence? What does it mean to approach it from a feminine perspective? What does it mean to approach it from an entrepreneurial perspective? This will really help unpack some of what I've told in my story and where I see this movement going and in how you can be involved in it as well. So no worries about hitting subscribe yet or anything. Just go listen to those next 3 and then decide if this is the movement for you. And if so, continue listening, continue to get engaged. I'm really thankful for you and for you joining me and connecting with this FIFE movement. As you go about your day today, remember, wealth is coming your way, and your quest is to prepare for using it well. For more tips on how to prepare, be ready to subscribe after you listen to those 4 episodes, but to connect with the FIFE movement, visit fifemovement.com. And if this story that I've shared today, my story, has helped you, inspired you, please pay that gift forward by sharing this story with a friend and inviting them to check this out with you. My gratitude in advance. To help this video be seen by more people, please hit the like button, and we invite your feedback in the comments too.